His name is Sergio. He's Argentinian. He's going to get me more hat-tricks this weekend. Well, not this weekend, on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever he's playing.
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are we. Brother to brother and everyone. A brave amigo. Wherever they need us, our destinies lead us. Amigos, we're always together.
Hello and welcome to the all-new Three Amigos FPL show for Game Week 25. I'm FPL Marple and I'm joined by my two amigos, Dale at Chef Dale H and Mars at Mars05. On tonight's show, we're joined by special guest Charlie Rocks from Fantasy Football First. And follow him at FanFoot First. The Game Week 24 was a poor one if you relied too much on Liverpool. But tell me, Charlie, how did the Game Week go for you?
The Game Week went okay, to be honest, because I now wear glasses. That's the big news of the week. I went down Specsavers, had my eyes tested, and I now wear glasses. So coincidentally, I was able to look at my fantasy football team and not have to squint and not get massive headaches from looking at my team. So I was quite pleased. In terms of points, though, which is more important, I was only all right. 51 points. Captain's Kane, who only gave me 8. It's a bit bobbins. And I had J-Rod on my bench with 9 points. And to make it worse, he was second on the bench. So Kenny would have come in had someone not played, delivering 2. But at the back, pretty pleased. Jones on 9, Alonso on 6, in the middle, Mahrez on 8. So, yeah, it's, I think my team's well set up for to push on.
So far in your FPL career, Charlie, you've basically been just going by the general colour of the jerseys and stuff like that. So we can expect a major points boost. So for you, because I know that you can actually make out like the difference between Swansea players, for instance, and Spurs players. Yeah.
Only when I've got my glasses on. I'm not wearing them at the moment, so I couldn't tell you the difference between Harry Kane and someone who looked like Harry Kane.
And tell me, the eye test you went down for, was that one of those, was it like the one you get as a free when you get to an old age pensioner kind of age that you get
where you have to read the letters?
Yeah.
Well, luckily for me, the letters were F and then a P and then an L. So it was all right.
Oh, so you were able to guess them. Nice one. Good stuff.
Am I the young man of the pod?
We're all in our 20s. What age are you, Dale?
32.
32, so you're the old man of the pod, so...
No, I'm in my 40s.
I only messed. I turned 40 last week, so yeah, Dale wasn't letting me away with calling you an old man, Charlie, basically.
Happy birthday last week.
Thanks, Mil. Yeah, old fart. But tell me, Dale, since you chimed in there with your smart ass comment, how was 24 for you?
It was good, but it could have been better. I had Alonso and Davies doing bits in the defence. Midfield was not to write on about. It was a tale of the strikers for me. It was Kane and Aguero, but if anyone follows me on Twitter, they know that I had a little glitch with my captain, and I'd meant to captain Aguero, and it glitched in captain Kane, so I lost points there, but between them, they got me a respectable score of 65, so I can't moan too much, but the losing of the points was...
Yeah, because I can confirm, like, definitely you were adamant you were going to captain Aguero, because you mentioned it on last week's pod that you were and you were thinking, no, I have to stick to my guns.
I was pretty upset, but it's the way it goes. But I'm set up. I've got some moves lined up, and they're probably not going to be popular ones with the Twitter community, but I've got my reasons.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll talk about them.
To that later.
Yeah, great stuff. Mars, how's it going for you? You were over in France this week, so we're expecting a lot of culture from you on the pod.
Oui, monsieur, ça va bien? Je parle français comme les oiseaux, mais les oiseaux ne parlent pas français. Oui? Alors?
Oui, c'est bon.
C'est bon, ça marche. Yeah, no, it was a good game week for me. Actually, I see a trend. I'm just now not going to look at my score. I'm going to look at Dale's and add 1. As last week, I have 1 more point than him. I got 70 minus 4, so 66. And it was down to my romance Aguero, to be honest. He was my captain. No glitches here, or I wasn't drunk, basically. And
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
It was
If
10
I
o'clock
look
in the morning when he was setting his captain pick.
That's precisely my point. Still, I was not hungover or drunk. Yeah, Aguero. Apart from that, to be honest, Alonso clean sheet, Sterling and Arnie assists, and Kane. The rest, not really even worth mentioning. Even Otamendi missed out on a clean sheet, but it was a good goal, to be fair to Newcastle. So we'll forgive him that. The ball to that goal was brilliant. But yeah, it was I'm happy, and I had a plan, as I mentioned last week, but now with the Arnie injury, I might have to readjust that if he's really out injured. I haven't seen anything confirmed yet. So yeah, not bad.
The Arnie injury has kind of thrown a lot of people's plans up in the air, because I know a lot of people probably were planning on whether it was Lingard or making changes to their defence or even bringing in Aguero up front. But the Arnie injuries kind of scuppered a few things. But my game week wasn't good. As you mentioned, Otamendi hasn't had a good game week since I brought him in, so I'm the jinx for Otta. And I actually captained Firmino, so that was an especially painful Monday Night Football for a Liverpool fan, watching us lose to Swansea whilst I have the captaincy on Firmino.
Who are you bringing in next week, and who are you captaining, please?
Oh, yeah, this was going to be our new feature, wasn't it? I'm bringing in Mkhitaryan for Arnie. Unfortunately, Mkhitaryan will probably be my Marple jinx for game week 25. We'll see how we go with that one. Every week on the pod, we kind of talk about what the big talking point is on the FPL community on Twitter. What's your talking point coming into game week 25?
For me, there's only one talking point of the week. I merely rock on any block in my polo tee and my polo socks. On top of cars, my face is hot. I merely rock on that Gates block. I mean, people are hating on Jesse Lingard, but he probably earns more than what most of us will ever earn. And that was Millie Rock. Are you not up to your rap? You need to get up to speed with the ting, right?
No, I'm old school rap, Mars.
If it's not Kendrick Lamar or Rich Rito, you've lost me.
Me and Jesse Lings, as I call him, we rap from the same hymn sheet. And that was his message to Sanchez, right? So, yeah, that for me is the talking point. Him messaging Sanchez.
I think to open that topic up, I've seen a lot of people want to dump Lingard. Now, me personally, I've got him in my team. I'm probably going to hold. People are speculating whether Sanchez is going to take his place or whatever, but the thing about Lingard is he can play across any of the three attacking midfield slots. So he'll play outside left, outside right, or through the middle. And Mourinho said this week that Sanchez is pretty versatile and can occupy 4 positions. So I'm not that worried. I know everyone's worried that Lingard's going to probably drop out, but I think he'll still play. So
I actually think Lingard is, like Sterling was at the beginning, better off coming from the bench when everybody else is tired. That's when he does most damage. Also, he has a knack of scoring in big games. So I'm not worried now, although I saw an article where Mourinho basically said, I now have great 5 attacking players: Sanchez, Martial, Mata, Lukaku, and I think maybe Rashford. He didn't mention Lingard. So people are going mental.
I think like you said, Maz, he'll still get minutes. So it's whether you want to take that risk.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact is, and I think the main point with Lingard is a couple of blanks for his price tag. Yeah, accept that at his price tag. People are kind of expecting him to have continued on what he was doing. And I mean, I'm happy to hold him unless it's a thing that we see that like his minutes really go downhill. Then
would you have played him this week anyway? The United are playing Spurs. Would you have played him anyway?
I probably would, because I don't think Spurs' defence is anything is what it was last season. So I probably would have played him. But I still am playing him. But it's not the optimum fixture. But it's
there isn't much in that price range, is there? So
no. And I mean the only alternative is I was looking at, because I had money in the bank for it, if Arnie hadn't gotten injured, Lingard to Martial, despite the fact that it's Spurs this weekend, which made me kind of want to hold on it as well. Martial, for me, has looked brilliant. And he's not only looking brilliant, he's coming up with all the goals. So he seems to be the man on fire. But you know, I think that we all have to see what way things shake out with Sanchez there. But I wouldn't be bailing on Lingard just because of a couple of blanks. You know, his price tag means that you can hold him. It's not that you need to have returns every single week from him on it.
Price has already dropped once this week, hasn't it? So it's not likely to drop again, is it?
No, it shouldn't really. Even though the price drop scenario is kind of something we're a bit all confused about. It's kind of hard to know what's going to happen.
It just depends, to be honest, if he's one of your main midfielders or if he's like the fourth midfielder in your team.
Yeah, you shouldn't be relying on a 6.3 to be your main man, though, really.
Exactly, but some people might have gone heavy at the front and the back and light in the middle for one reason or another. It's just really, it does really depend. But, you know, to answer Charlie's question, I probably would play him because I do think he likes the big games and he seems to score the goals. He's in my team. He'll probably stay because my bench is not much better. And then, as Don said, later on, if we see that he's getting absolutely no minutes or he's not getting anywhere, or as I think Fly mentioned on Twitter, he's on loan at, you know, Championship next week, then I'll start panicking and moving him on. But yeah, I think there was a bandwagon that started with him getting goals, and maybe we all jumped on, but because it was an easy way to get into United with some good fixtures. So don't panic, and unless there's, you know, your team is perfect everywhere else.
How much do you think we can read into tomorrow's game? Because tomorrow United play weak opposition, so probably won't have a full strength team. But they've already said that Sanchez will play, so we should be able to perhaps deduce where Sanchez is going to be in the middle or on the right or on the left, and therefore which player is going to predominantly suffer in FPL.
I think what we'll be able to find out tomorrow is how up to speed Sanchez is with United's system. You know, like you say, he's probably going to play a weakened team, so we probably can't draw too much from it. But I think we'll find out like how up to speed Sanchez is. I think that's what we can take away from tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if Lukaku will get much of a game tomorrow, so we probably won't get much of a chance to see whether they gel as a partnership.
And this is one of the reasons that you know, of course, Sanchez is a great FPL asset, has been for the last few years. Maybe not this year, but even this year, he's been getting in some of the goals. But I'm gonna hold off until I see how it goes at United, and, you know, wait for him to gel, because it's a lot of money and I don't want to break my team up just for that.
I'll be honest, he's coming in for Huddersfield.
Yeah, you've always planned on bringing him in as soon when he did sign for, or when there was rumored that he was going to be signing.
Yeah, I've got my move lined up and he's coming in, definitely.
Who are you going to sacrifice for him to get him in?
Right, my move is going to be I'm going to sacrifice Sterling and Son for Sanchez and Chupa Chups. That is going to be my move. I don't really like, I'll be honest, this isn't going to be popular, but I don't like Manchester City's fixtures after West Brom. I really don't.
Burnley away, Leicester at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Burnley away ain't going to be easy. Leicester at home, can see them winning that. Arsenal away, they're going to sign players, so they might be reinvigorated. Chelsea at home, Chelsea great at parking the bus. You know, when they played them at Stamford Bridge, they looked the better team until Morata went off. So for me, I mean, listen, they could turn up and win all those fixtures, but we don't know. I can still afford Aguero and Sanchez, so I'm still covered in that respect. But I just don't like the fixtures. I think it's a real tricky patch. You've got the League Cup final, you've got Champions League starts up very soon as well. I think that's like the 13th of February. So, and then I think there's the FA Cup 5th round to fit in around those fixtures as well. So I'm just thinking rotation. It's an odd set of fixtures. So I'm willing to sacrifice Sterling. I don't think that's a bad move, especially when I need a differential as well.
Will you lose much money on Sterling?
No, not much.
Was it Sterling and Son?
Yeah.
So to be fair, what you could do is you could have Sanchez for the Huddersfield and Newcastle game, and then brought Son back in for your Palace away, Huddersfield at home and Bournemouth away, so therefore you're avoiding Chelsea at home and Liverpool at home, and then switch back to Sanchez for West Ham away and Swansea away. So Swansea home. And now that give you 7 really good fixtures in a row.
Yeah, I mean, like, that'll be a move I'll look at down the line. It depends on injuries and form and what have you. We'll see. But for the most part, I am set on bringing Sanchez in. I need a differential, so I need like 5% owned. It'll probably go up to about 10 in the next few weeks, I would imagine. But I think
there's an opportunity to make money as well, isn't there?
Yeah, most definitely. But it is a lot of money. It's 11.7 million. It is a lot of money. But
yeah, but he's got more points than Lukaku. He's cheap, so he's only just a little bit more expensive than Lukaku, and he's played fewer games. So even if he just has his Arsenal form, he'll still do well.
Speaking of, actually, when you mentioned differentials there, I know a lot of the talk is, and an awful lot of the transfers this week have been Kane to Aguero, and a lot of people getting off Kane. This keeps on happening, I know, every year, and everyone always says, well, you'll pay for that, and he did make everyone pay with a couple of hat-tricks a few game weeks ago. But for people, and Dale, I'll bring this one to you, because I know we mentioned the little teaser of this on Twitter earlier on. But essentially, when people are looking to make up big ground, that is my kind of reasoning behind moving from Kane to Aguero, because the ownership level, if Aguero bangs and Kane doesn't, then I could see bumps. Whereas with just keeping Kane, I'm not really going to go anywhere.
The thing is, like, we're coming into Harry Kane's time of year. So that's why I said on Twitter, if I was going to drop either of them, it'd be Aguero. You've got Jesus coming back soon. I think there's another couple of weeks and he's back from his little knee injury. I think the thing is with Kane, if he fires, you're going to get past a lot of dead teams as well, because a lot of dead teams have Lukaku from earlier on in the season because he was on fire. So to me, I'd be finding a way I could get both of them. But if you can't, I mean, I can see the logic. I think Man City will blow West Brom away, but I wouldn't. I mean, I'd be having an exit strategy for when Jesus comes back, personally, because they're going to rotate. He showed earlier on in the season with the Champions League. To be fair, he did favour Jesus for the Champions League and Aguero for the league earlier on in the season. That was apparent, but it's just so hard to predict what Pep's going to do. You just don't know. So
yeah, it is. But the plan probably will be to go back to Kane after, but it's it's literally desperately trying to clutch at, because I found, and I think it's a lot of people are finding it, no matter where they are in the ranking, to actually move up or down is difficult, because the template and people having so many common players that it's actually hard to move up and down at all, no matter where you are.
Fair, I mean, I've just checked the ownership, and I didn't realise. I thought Kane was still around 40%, but he's nearly at 50. He's on 47.7. So yeah, it wouldn't be a bad move for a few weeks. I mean, Aguero's only 25.6. So if Kane blanks, I mean, Spurs have got hard fixtures. I mean, you can see the United game being a blank, but if anyone's going to score, it's probably going to be Kane. But I mean, the fixtures after it, they've got Liverpool and Arsenal. I mean, they're not the tightest of defences. So I'm not a fan of this Kane exit Mark II, as it's been phrased on Twitter. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I'd just hold him for the United game and if like yourself, swap him for Aguero for that game against West Brom.
Yeah, because attacking players, I'm not actually that afraid of big games for, I mean, the big games, there's often goals in them, unless they're Mourinho, or Mourinho's doing his, like, the ultimate Mourinho tactics where he just kills the game. A lot of the big games, there is goals and you can have points. It's just your defenses. You're not particularly going to be keen on you're not going to get clean sheet points probably, but you could still get attacking returns from any of your players. So it's
that's why I'm shifting Davies this week, because I just don't fancy that match for a defender.
Yeah. Surely, speaking of other blanks, blank game week in game week 28 is no longer it's no longer on the cards, or certainly it doesn't look like being the bank game week that we had anticipated. Only City possibly could have one if they need to have a replay in the cup. Fantasy managers had hoped to use the free hit or even the wild card chip that week. What should be the new strategy?
Well, I've still got all 3 chips, so I'm quite lucky in that way. Bench boost, free hit, and triple captain. My plan was pretty similar to last season. I was going to use the bench boost in the first double game week and triple captain probably in the second double game week, and use the free hit in the first blank game week. It looks like the first big blank game week is going to be probably 31, so I will use my free hit then. That's my thinking at the moment. The reason why I've gone for bench boost rather than triple captain in the first double game week is I'm following the same logic as last season, where if you remember last season we spoke about how often you have a defender and an attacker facing each other, and the two of them together, if one of them scores or one of them keeps a clean sheet as a pair, it only makes 8 points. However, if you can load your team correctly for the double game week to avoid those 8-point pairs, then you can have a real strong team for the double game week. And therefore, I feel that statistically you're more likely to get more points playing a bench boost than you're playing triple captain, unless your triple captain plays an absolute stonker like they did last season. It blew my theory out of the water.
Yeah, I'm sure that can happen anyway, but and that's good reasoning behind the difference between the chips. Lads, we want to just actually 2 more things I want to touch on before we move on to the preview for Game Week 25. Dale, Mkhitaryan, of course, was the other move that went the opposite direction to Sanchez. I mentioned that he is my Marple jinx for Game Week 25 because I've gotten him in already. But how do you assess his value and also the impact on the other Arsenal attackers?
Well, let's not beat about the bush. I've got Henrik Mkhitaryan's stats in front of me for the last 3 seasons. When he signed for United, he was on the cusp of being a world-class player. He had 15 assists for Dortmund and he scored 11 goals. That was in 2015, 2016. I think any team that picked him up at that time would have been happy to have him. If I remember correctly, United got him for about 35 million. And I think we can all agree that at the time, that was seen as good business. Now, last season, he got 1 assist and 4 goals scored. And then this season, he's got 5 assists and 1 goal scored. Not the best. But if he can recapture his form, then Arsenal have got a serious player on their hands. I mean, they might have Aubameyang coming in. It'll be interesting to see how they're set up. I'm not sure how they're going to set up, to be honest, with them.
If you look at Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, if you got the 2 of them in and Sanchez out, you could actually argue that Arsenal will actually be stronger than they were before the transfer window, especially that Sanchez was obviously dissatisfied and not happy to be there.
Definitely. Ozil's still got his World Cup place to play for, so he's still going to be giving it his all. So, it depends on how they're set up, but I'm a big fan of Mkhitaryan, and if he can recapture his Dortmund form, then I think that'll be a really good move for you, Don, to be honest.
I agree. I think he's going to suit the style of play at Arsenal. He's going to have the freedom, and if they sign Aubameyang with him, them two, the connection, the old connection at Dortmund, could click for them. Whether they sign him or not, though, is irrelevant. I think Mkhitaryan is going to be somebody who will assist loads. I just think he will like playing in the Arsenal team. But Arsenal will just continue to be Arsenal. What I said on Twitter earlier, they will play games like they did against Palace and blow them out of the water, and then they'll go and capitulate somewhere else.
I've just quickly, Maz, I've just got Aubameyang's stats up for that same season. Mkhitaryan was there, and he scored 25 goals that season.
Them two connected really well together. Again, and the stats back it up. I don't know if Arsenal are going to get him or not. I'm not really sure what's happening, to be honest. We'll see what happens in the next week. But like I said, whether they get him or not, I think the playing style of Arsenal, and he's not going to be asked, let's be honest, he's not going to be asked to defend a lot as he was at United, probably. It's not just It's not Wenger's style. It's not Arsenal style, and that's why I said they will go out and absolutely blow some teams out of the water, and they will go and lose if a team gives comes in their faces. So it's going to be one of those seasons for Arsenal, and I think the top 4 fight is going to go to the wire. Again, I think you can take Man City out of the equation. You've got United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham fighting for 3 places, and Arsenal.
While we're actually on, I wanted to actually ask you about Arnie. Do you think Mkhitaryan is the natural replacement for Arnie? I know Shaqiri is also gathering a bit of attention. Matty K actually at FPL_versus our friend. He was asking, he had a listener question, he was looking for Arnie replacements with no cash in the bank. Who would you be fancying, Mars, to replace Arnie? 7.1. So, Anthony, underneath that, who would be your tip?
So yeah, I looked at a few options. I'm not sure what's Mkhitaryan price now, because he was around the 8, so I don't think he's like for like
7.6.
7.6. Okay, so if we start with Matty's question, which is if you have no money in the bank and you've got, I think Arnie's now at around 7. He had a price rise before he got the injury, so let's say around 7. Yeah. There was you have quite a few options. So again, I'm going to give you a couple of names, but before I say that, it really depends on what you want, because you can go really low and save money. So save 2.5 million, go for a 4.5 midfielder if you have other strong midfielders, and spread the money somewhere else. Either try and get Aguero in if you don't have him, or strengthen your defense, or you can spend the whole money and go for someone nearby or the same value. If you want, if Arnie, like for me, was one of, I've got Salah and Sterling, who I'd say are my 2 strong midfielders, and then Arnie was probably the next bracket. So he was my 3rd best midfielder. So I'm in that boat. Once I know that he's definitely out, and there's no need to rush because there is time. We've got the FA Cup. I read from Ben Dinnery's timeline that he was never going to play the weekend anyway. You expect him to have a rest. So let's see before he's definitely, because I don't think it has been definitely confirmed by anyone yet. Definitely not at West Ham, not officially anyway. I know there's a Twitter account of somebody who says he was an ex-West Ham staff, and he seems to get information correct information. So he said he's injured. So let's see. But there's, for me, 3 names that jump out. So Shaqiri, we talked about. If you look at their fixtures, they're really good. Willian, if his injury is not as bad as reported. And then I was thinking between Ramsey or Tadic. So going a bit old school. I mean, Tadic gets a lot of flack, but Southampton had a really good game against Spurs, and they also have good fixtures. And Tadic will be vital for them on what he does. And he's one of those guys that stands up sometimes. Like, he's a biggerish fish in a small pond, and he'll have with Ward-Prowse the set pieces, but he's always on the attacking end. He's always involved, and he could be all of these guys that we've just named will be differentials. I don't think many teams will have a Shaqiri, a Tadic, or a Willian right now.
I think they're good names. Yeah, I mean, Tadic, Southampton is funny because I think we always seem to be continuously saying that Southampton have good fixtures. They must have some magic dust on the fixture list, because they always seem to. The number of times we've said on the Fan Feud pod and on this one about Southampton's fixtures, and yet they never seem to live up to them. But yeah, I agree. Tadic is well capable of putting together a few game weeks and being kind of the flavour of the month for a few weeks at least. Shaqiri, you mentioned there, ownership wise, he's 5.8, and coming up is Watford, Bournemouth and Brighton, followed by Leicester and Southampton. So they're lovely fixtures. Shaqiri's always he's their main man.
Yeah, and the problem with those two, and even Ramsey, who especially those two, their teams don't score a lot, right? Stoke are not going to score too many goals, nor are Southampton. But highly likely that if they do score, there's a high percentage that these guys are involved. Now, the other name, and the last name that I'll give, is Theo Walcott. So he's about 7.1. And, let's see how he does how he does at Everton. But I'm really interested because I think he could bring back the old Theo that we knew, scoring points and scoring goals. So he's one to watch. A little bit more expensive. So if you have just a spare 1.1 or 0.2k in the bank, you could stretch. But there's options, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, there's a good few options, yeah. And it is, I suppose, if you want to downgrade slightly and save a few more quid to try to make your move, maybe from one of the Spurs midfielders to Sanchez, maybe it could be well worthwhile downgrading, as opposed to looking for something with a like price tag on it. But good answer, Mars, and you kept that one in under 10 minutes, so we're happy with that one.
Never change.
Yeah. They never change, no. Lads, that's brilliant. Come here, we'll move on to we'll look at we'll do the preview for the game week, and then we'll do our listener questions and our captain picks. So first up this game week, Charlie, you're up, and it is Swansea versus Arsenal. Swansea were a lot more obviously solid than expected against Liverpool, and Arsenal have been mediocre at best away from home this season. The Gunners have only picked up 13 points from 12 away games, scoring 14 and conceding 18. That said, you have to favour Arsenal, don't you? If only by the odd goal.
You have to favour Arsenal for many reasons. The number of shots in the box that Arsenal have had this season is 221, which is surprisingly only 6 behind Manchester City, compared to Swansea's 93 all season, which is bottom of the table, bottom of the rank. If anybody wants to look up these stats, just Google a website called Objective Football. Now, in terms of shots on target, Arsenal flying with a 37.3% accuracy on shots on target compared to Swansea's pretty poor 27.8. So Swansea are not shooting, and when they are shooting, it's not as accurate. Arsenal are getting almost 2.2 times as many shots as Swansea. So for me, it's only going to go one way, and I'd be fielding all my Gooners.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mil, Charlie. West Ham versus Palace, and covering this one for us is Mars. What's the story on this one? Obviously, West Ham are looking like they're going to be without Arnie, Lanzini and Carroll, and they're playing against Palace, who have Sacco, Schlupp and Dan all out injured. What's your thoughts on this one from an FPL point of view, Mars?
Well, before injuries, I would have thought West Ham would be the favourites for this, right? You've got Arnie, Lanzini, Carroll, Ayew, who could be another option for the Arnie replacement if he plays more regularly. But now, take Lanzini, take Arnie out of the West Ham team, and the aerial prowess of Carroll, and they're looking quite weak because Antonio's either not back or not fully fit yet either. We all have a West Ham defender probably still hanging in there from the double game week because they're so cheap, and yet I'm yet to get a single return from these guys. So it's one of those games that actually I see goals in. I think Palace have been, and I hate to say this, but they've been playing well under Hodgson. Fair play to him. They have power there. You've got Zaha, Townsend, Milojevic. I guess I said it right. Benteke, if you say that.
You did that one. You said that one very well, Maris. Benteke,
I thought so.
West Ham have just signed a midfielder, Mars, just to put you in the mix. They've just signed João Mario on loan from Inter Milan.
Okay, there we go. Mario, yeah. I watched him on YouTube, not.
He's a really good player, actually.
Oh, is he? Okay. But yeah, back to West Ham. Palace, I think there'll be goals. I think if you have their assets, you stick with them, especially attacking like from Palace, because the attacking ones from West Ham are mostly injured. So if you have a Zaha, he could be coming back. I always like Zaha. I've always had him in my team until a few weeks ago, but it's one of those games that you could see him doing well in. If you have defenders from this team, again, I say this. If they are your main defenders, then you keep them. If they are just your fourth and fifth defender, then you bench them, because I think West Ham are looking quite actually not as strong as we hoped at the back, and I see goals in this game.
Even though Palace have just signed a new defender.
Who have they signed?
Jack. And they've also signed a midfielder on loan.
Is that the one who they all said was pregnant on Twitter?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Yeah, and Rakip from Benfica.
No, Jaroslav Jack is a tardy little defender, to be fair,
Yeah,
despite his weight issues.
The pronunciation of this segment has been second to none. It's been fantastic. Trying to decide who's the best.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Charlie, I think if you have Palace defenders or a keeper, and they're your main players, you keep them, because there is a chance of a clean sheet. I was talking more about West Ham, because most of us have a West Ham defender still. If he's your main man, one of your main defenders, because you've gone budget at the back and spent everything else on midfielders and forwards, then you keep them, because it is Palace, and with all due respect, sometimes they might not turn up or score loads of goals, but then they could do what they did at Leicester and score 3. So it's just a gamble. I see goals in this game, so that's why I said, like, if they're not your main men, just bench them.
Good stuff. Dale, move on to Huddersfield versus Liverpool. This is all, of course, about the Reds bouncing back and showing that Swansea was a one-time mistake, just like that time when you wore the sarong out on Saturday night in Hull. Is this one? Are you optimistic about Salah and the boys getting it back on and against Huddersfield?
Yeah, I'm nervous about not having any Liverpool assets this week again. I got away with it last week. Just looking at the form table, Huddersfield's last 6 have drawn 3 and lost 3, and they've actually lost their last 3 and conceded 11 in that time. So this is only going one way for me. But to be fair, Liverpool showed against Swansea that it was the Liverpool of last season where they struggled against teams that threw men behind the ball. Without that little magic from Coutinho, Huddersfield are going to have to defend for their lives, and I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think Huddersfield will win, but I wouldn't rule out a 0-0. But
you had to go there, didn't you? You had to bring Coutinho in it.
I did, yeah. Well, I'm still sore about it, Maz, because he was like the linchpin of my FPL side.
A lot of people are still sore about it. If you look at the LFC Twitter, which I'm sure you do, because you love a fishing trip there once in a while. People are still complaining.
I don't even follow the official Twitter account, man, so I don't know what you mean.
No, just the people. But I agree with you, by the way. I think when I was looking at this game, I think Huddersfield want to play football, and that will work into Liverpool's favour.
Definitely.
But they did turn over United, so it's a possibility.
I think Huddersfield are heading in one direction. I think they're going to be at risk of the drop the way they're going. Liverpool in the last 6 have scored the joint amount of most goals with Tottenham, and that's 16. They've conceded 9 in that time, but I wouldn't be too worried about them conceding in this match. But I really do think they'll put Huddersfield to the sword. I think they'll bounce back, and I think it'll be Salah and the boys will be celebrating a win.
Surely the Chelsea versus Bournemouth is next up. Chelsea are a club with issues, and Bournemouth are improving. That said, Cherries haven't kept a clean sheet in 11 Premier League games. What's your thoughts on this one? Chelsea bounce back. Alonso hopefully with a couple of goals.
Chelsea are not playing particularly well, but they're getting the results, aren't they? They've had a load of wins recently. They might not be super exciting to watch, and there seems to be a lot of drama off the pitch, but yeah, they're getting there. They've only really got Fabregas injured. There's Will.i.am with his yellow flag, and Morata with his yellow flag, moaning about his back. But They're pretty, they're more or less full strength. And then there's Bournemouth, who are pretty fit as well, and Mings as their worry. The only question mark I have on this over Bournemouth is they've drawn their last 6 away games on the bounce. So could this be another draw for Bournemouth? Is that their tactic? Try and just get the 1 point away. In which case, have Chelsea got the wherewithal and ability to break through a resolute Bournemouth defence? You would expect so. So if I was playing my Chelsea players, I'd certainly be playing them against Bournemouth. But if I was down the bookies with an ACCA, I probably wouldn't pick Chelsea.
Just to segue, Charlie, what do you think if they get Edin Dzeko? Because that move looks like it's going to happen. Would that make you more inclined to go into the Chelsea attack or not?
I like watching Dzeko when he was at City. He was strong and he pushed himself around the box a lot. He just wasn't as lethal. Therefore, he wasn't quite as accurate as Aguero. So therefore, I could see how he was second fiddle. I think if Chelsea are playing Morata and Dzeko, it's probably not going to work. I think if Dzeko becomes the main man, then how's that going to impact Morata? So I think there will be dressing room issues regardless of what happens there, and I think that could destabilise the team. It's a big risk. In terms of FPL, I wouldn't buy him.
Okay, fair enough.
Good stuff. Mars, Everton versus Leicester. It's I'm kind of predicting a 2-2 draw on this one, because I don't really think either of them are particularly do anything particularly well in defence. But what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think
Everton, Mars.
I do love Everton, especially under Allardyce, my favourite club under one of my favourite managers. I think look, if we talk FPL terms, if you have any of Leicester's attacking guys, you keep them, you absolutely play them. You don't move them on. If you have the Vardy, Mahrez, you don't move them on, because this is a game that they could easily score, get double digits potentially. Right. What I can see happening in the game is that Everton are going to try and be tight, but whenever they attack, Leicester will pick them off, because that's what they do best. Is they counter attack. Now I'm really interested to see how Bolasie and Walcott do. Who's he going to play? How's Tosson? It's really unfair to judge him on the game on one game against Spurs, or a couple of games.
It's too soon, really.
Give him some time, right? He needs some time to see how that team sets up, But it could be interesting with Sigurdsson, Walcott, and Bolasie behind the main striker. If you have any of Everton's. Again, if you spent money on Everton defenders or Pickford, most likely Pickford is going to be your main man, so you play him, because your other keeper is going to be either a non-playing keeper or worse. Worse than Pickford. If not, then if your main defender or main keeper has a better game, or you have a more expensive keeper like a De Gea or Courtois with Pickford, then you play them and you bench Pickford in this game. If Kenny is another one, he's the other the equivalent of the West Ham defenders. We all got Kenny, and now he's doing nothing. And I've seen this thing on Twitter. Oh my God, they've killed Kenny. And now Seamus Coleman's come, which is great to see him back. By the way, I really admire him as a player for Everton and Ireland. One of my really favourite right backs to watch in the league, and it's great to see him back. And I don't think he'll be back yet, but once he's back, obviously he will get that spot back. But Kenny, since we all went in and bought him, hasn't really done much. So again, that's two players that West Ham defender and Everton defender have not done much in our team. So would you start Kenny in a game against Leicester, even if it's at home? Again, not if he was my fourth defender.
Yeah, he's my. And speaking of that, I have Cresswell and Kenny, and Kenny's going to be on the bench again for me. but now, having said that, I think it might be a little while before. Mind you, Coleman, I think played in did he play in the cup game?
He got about 60 minutes for the under 23s.
Yeah, he played for the under 23s. First tackle, he went in 50-50, sliding tackle, took the ball, took the guy. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I love Coleman. To pity he plays for Everton, isn't it? But
I got on Kenny pretty early, so I was quite lucky. I got some good points returns out of Kenny.
Yeah, same as that. So I can't complain really for his price. But yeah, I'll just I'm going to accept the points drops for now, or the price drops for now. Hopefully it won't be too many of them. And yeah, because I think when Coleman does come back, I reckon he probably will be he'll be on the bench. Because I can't see, I mean, he's good enough at going forward, but I mean, Everton have good enough midfielders at this point that he's not exactly going to get pushed forward Alonso style when Coleman comes back. But Dale, move on to Newcastle versus Burnley. This should be a defensive masterclass, I'd imagine. Aaron Lennon, I do actually fancy him a bit at Burnley. I think he's got the quality, and he
snooze fest, probably.
Yeah, probably a bit of a snooze fest.
I do like Aaron Lennon. It's someone I've looked at. If he's back to some decent form, I think he's got some big men to aim at in Chris Wood and Sam Vokes in the box. So yeah, I do like Lennon as a move. He's like 5.4, so he's fairly cheap. Probably not someone I'm going to bring in, but I'll keep an eye on because he is a live wire when he gets going. It's great to see him back in the game. Let's just say that first of all as well, because you know, he's suffered with his mental health, and it's good to see him back. Yeah, I think I could probably see Burnley winning this unless Newcastle make some late moves in the transfer market. Probably a 1-0 masterclass from Sean Dyche. But yeah, it's not the most exciting game, but I think if you've got your Burnley defenders, you're probably playing. Yeah.
Do you think
have any defenders, and it's a good one?
Do you think Dyche eats his worms warm or cold?
Probably cold in Burnley.
On a more serious note, I've seen a lot of buzz on Twitter around Goodmanson from Burnley. What? Any thoughts?
No. Quite frankly, I don't like the Burnley attack. I don't like it. You know, it doesn't score very often.
Whereas that what you just did there today was similar to what I normally do to Chorley, where I put him on the spot with some question out of absolutely nowhere.
I was looking at Twitter earlier, and there's a big buzz about him. You know, people putting up stats, but I completely agree with Dale. I don't see Burnley as a team that's going to score lots of goals. So
they're really close to the XG line, and you know they're great defensively. I think the last 10 for Burnley are pretty decent as well. So if you've got Burnley defenders, I think you'd keeping them or benching them in the big games and keeping them for the running.
Any worries about Pope yet? If you're a Pope owner like me, should I be worried, or is
Well, that's the big question. I don't know. I mean, Pope's been brilliant all season. You know, for his price point as well, he's done brilliantly. So
I reckon you probably keep Pope until Heaton actually comes in one game, and you just swallow. If it's unexpected and he comes in, then just swallow that game week and go, all right, well, I'll have to make a move next week. But
yeah, I don't own Pope, so it's not an issue for me. But yeah, it's one definitely to keep an eye on. I mean, Heaton was the number one, and you know, he was everyone's hero last season. So
I reckon he'll come straight back in, but it's anyone's guess when that's going to be. He's no return date on FPL site anyway. But thanks, Mildale. Southampton versus Brighton. This is your one, Charlie. Not exactly a humdinger of a game either, but Brighton have only scored 5 goals, by the way, on the road in the Premier League this season. So it's not a bad shot at a clean sheet for the Southampton defenders if you own them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think Southampton should be able to keep a clean sheet. I think Southampton, there's something wrong with the attack. We've said it on previous podcasts that Southampton do all the work in midfield. They get the ball into dangerous areas, and then it just all seems to fizzle out and they do nothing with it. It's quite telling that of their goals, only one of the goals was from outside of the 18-yard box. If you look at their pass stats, the pass stats, the I think the 9th or 8th on the tables. They're incredible for a team in the bottom 3. The shots in the 18-yard box are great. All their stats are good, and I would expect a reversion to the mean. I would expect a bounce back to happen quite soon. The fact that they're looking for a striker is really encouraging. So
just signed one.
Yeah. So I think Southampton should win this, and I think we can reasonably expect Southampton to start scoring more goals because on paper they're doing all the right things.
They've just signed Guido Carrillo from Monaco, but he's not the most prolific striker.
He spent a long time on the bench, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got 43 in 184 games. So, yeah.
43 in 184?
Yeah.
That's pretty poor, 1 in 4. That's kind of like a good midfielder stats, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just his league form. Overall, 63 and 236. So, yeah.
Still similar,
Not encouraging.
1 in 4, yeah. Yeah, for listeners who are not familiar with stats, you would expect a good quality, a reasonable striker to score 1 in 3 games. You would expect them to score 1 in 5 shots. A very good striker to score 1 in 5 shots. You'd expect a good midfielder, premium price midfielder, to score 1 in every 4 games.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Mil, Shirley. I think Mars, is it you're up for Man City versus West Brom? This one should be it's basically should be a Man City walk in the park, surely, but we all know that sometimes banana skins can happen. Do you think this one's going to be a banana skin or a home win all day?
I don't think it'll be a banana skin. I think it'll be a home win. It's just how early they get the goals and how many. It could. I mean, look, there's always a potential for banana skin, and Jay Rodriguez is on fire. If you keep picking Otamendi in your team, we could see another clean sheet loss. But apart from that, I think Man City will just be too strong for West Brom. Again, if it goes without saying, if you have Man City players, you keep them. Of course, this in every game, in any game. In fact, for me, I'm probably going to have the same captain as last week, especially if he doesn't play in the Cup. I think everybody will be watching the lineup for the Cup. With Pep, it seems to be quite clear. If they play in the Cup, they won't play in the game next, especially if they play the full game. Having just also played a few days ago. So I don't expect Aguerooooo to play. But let's see, because he doesn't have, they don't have any other striker. So it'll be interesting if Sterling plays as a false 9 and if he will start again against West Brom. Because I like Dale's shout about Sterling being upgraded to Sanchez. But for me, it's more about, is Sterling going to be the fall guy? The fact that they don't have a striker and he'll be the one who plays as a striker in some of the games and then rested. Also, are his goals drying up now? He's had a fantastic season. Never expected it, but fair play to the guy. But Sane seems to be a little bit fresher now, more involved. And is it time now for Sterling to, make a move out of our teams? That's the question for me. As for West Brom, if you have their defenders, they're quite expensive, so they probably be one of your main defenders unless you got on them early. City wanted Evans for a long time, so there must be something in that, and they could easily score from set pieces because Man City still look a little bit dodgy sometimes. But I wouldn't play them if I have them. So, yeah, and apart from that, I have no interest in West Brom players.
Would you play J-Rod? Because City recently have been conceding quite late on in the game. And J-Rod scored against Arsenal, scored against Everton, scored against Brighton.
J-Rod will be one, I'm looking at J-Rod. It's either
sorry,
him or Wilson.
Against Brighton, sorry.
Yeah, only 1 point in it, isn't it? Assist or a goal. But yeah, I'm looking at J-Rod as a replay, because I want to upgrade my my third striker, so it's him or Wilson. And it's a good question. I would say it depends on your setup. If you play 3-4-3 and your other defenders and midfielders are so cheap and just there to fill up the bench, then you have to play him. if you do, what quite a few people do, and you have a rotation going on, this is a game that you don't know. You're hoping he scores, and highly likely that he doesn't. If I had him, I would play him, just because I like having 3 attackers, and because of what you said as well. I agree with you. City are Rodriguez is scoring, City are conceding, and they just look a little bit not as strong as they were. And I only blame one person for that, and it's not Pep.
It's one thing is she's kind of funny with Man City, with all the money that they have, that they actually don't have someone that could actually play that, with all their money, that they couldn't have some younger forward who wouldn't be kicking up a massive stink by sitting on the bench, and that could actually come in, because
like Jesus.
Yeah, but Jesus was he was massive money, and he really, really highly rated and stuff, whereas surely there's some younger player, it's younger, it would be a British player or an academy player or something that was coming through that is capable of playing cup games as a lone forward.
They loaned him out to Celtic.
Yeah, and didn't they lose another one to the German league? Was he a forward?
Jadon Sancho is a wide player, but they loaned Patrick Roberts out to Celtic. He's like a 9.5. He can play 10 or a number 9.
That's brilliant. Thanks a million, fellas. Spurs versus Man United, the big game. That's your one, Dale. What's your thoughts on this one? Loads of goals?
Well, it's the match of the game week, pretty much. The consensus on Twitter is that this is going to be a boring 0-0, but I've just been looking through the previous results, and there's only been 1 0-0 in this fixture in the last 13. So that kind of points to me that there's going to be goals at some point. So it's an hard one. It's going to be Sanchez's league debut. So Man United are going to be reinvigorated, but Spurs are again at top of the form table for the last 6. So they're unbeaten in the last 6. Won 4 and drew 2, scored 16 and conceded 4. So it's a really hard one to predict. It's probably going to be whoever scores first will win.
Yeah,
I've got Kane, so I want a Spurs win, and I want Kane to score the goals. So I would really like Spurs to put Man United to the sword. But as we were saying earlier about Lingard, Mars pointed it out that he likes to score in big matches. So, could this be Lingard's, maybe he makes a little sub cameo appearance and pops on at the end and bags the winner?
I don't know is this actually factually correct, but I know that also you're mentioning big game players. I think Son has actually got a good record in big games as well. So it could be worth keeping an eye to see if he might be worthwhile keeping a hold of, despite the fact that the fixtures look a bit rough. He could be quite good. But thanks, Milldale. We're on to the final game of the game week, which is Stoke versus Watford. And I decided I'll keep this dredge of a one for myself. But it's Stoke, as we mentioned. We've gone through Shaqiri a lot. We mentioned him a good bit earlier on, so we won't bother going into too much about them. But Watford, of course, they've after sacking their manager, which was a very odd one. I'm sure you guys thought it too. Only weeks after Everton offered a ton of cash to sign him, they decided to sack him, and no doubt they'll have to pay a load of money in compensation to him for sacking him. So really genius move by the Watford board there. But the one thing about Stoke, actually, when I was looking up stats for them, was they've been half respectable, if not good, at home. It's been on the road where they've been really brutal. They've conceded 30 goals in 12 away games. So it's at home, they're not bad. So it's kind of one of those games where I suppose you're going to start any of your Stoke players that you have, because Watford are no great shakes. But obviously temper it with the reality that neither of these teams are particularly good in attack.
Javi Garcia, he's a decent manager. He's in the Rafa mould. He loves a clean sheet. So he's probably going to look to tighten Watford up, because, as you've rightly mentioned, they concede goals for fun.
And I think I noticed Richarlison actually tweeted right afterwards. Did you see that? He tweeted straight away a sad face or an angry face or something like that after the news broke. So it'll be interesting to see.
And didn't you tell him that he could come to Liverpool and then in 5 years' time he'll be at Barca?
Yeah, that's what I said actually. Yeah. I quickly got onto him just to see if I could drop that into his. I told him actually to go to Liverpool, do the Anfield tour, and then ask could he actually pop in and have a chat to Jurg, to Big Jurg. But
maybe he needs to go to Southampton first.
Yeah, that's where they all have to go. Yeah, we need it. It's like when the Brazilians come to when they come to Portugal and stuff like this. First to get their visa and stuff. Southampton is where Liverpool players get their visa before they can transfer in.
Could we one player to just give a shout out to the Welsh Pirlo, because he's been doing quite well, and also playing in the number 10 role. So that could be another option, because he's about 0.9 or 1 million cheaper than Shaqiri, if people are looking to find money.
I love Joao. I had him last season in his little spells when he went on them little scoring spells, and he was great to go on.
I actually joked, I think last week, that I was going to bring him in, and now, lo and behold, that game week I noticed he scored or he assisted, and I was.
Is there anyone else you're planning on bringing in?
Yeah.
I'll tweet it out later on in the game week, maybe Saturday morning.
Anyone that you plan but you decide not to.
When you're still drunk, Dale, trying to make your captaincy choice.
Drunk wildcard is my specialty.
Come here, lads. We'll move on to the listener questions, okay? We've finished our preview, so listener questions, and then we'll get on with our captain picks. Charlie, I'll give this one to you first. John G. Drifters United was asking what's the best way to get over a disappointing game week. He says it's a free game with very little at stake personally, but game week 24 had expectations that weren't met, and he's been feeling flat ever since. So what's your best way of getting over a disappointing game week?
There's a number of methods that I use. Sometimes I put my yoga hat on and go and meditate in the corner and don't come out until the following game week. Sometimes a bit of retail therapy works, and I'll go and make an immediate transfer. Usually, though, I just take it on the chin, because when I'm planning my transfers, I don't just plan one game week in isolation. I've normally got a plan for 3-4 weeks for my team, and if a transfer doesn't work out one weekend or something goes a little bit wrong, I just shrug my shoulders and get on with it and worry about it the following week.
Yeah, because I know that I often was the same way. As that I replied to John, I was saying that part of it is when we're on the podcast, we feel obviously a little bit of extra pressure, or if you're in the community and you're writing about FPL or you're talking about it, you feel a little bit of extra pressure, and you have that whether you're doing very badly or if you're doing very well, in order to keep your rank up there. Sometimes I actually noticed myself I was actually getting in bad humour when I was seeing players I didn't own, and I was going, all right, you need to snap yourself out of that, lad. Just you need to kind of, I guess just realise, just get a little bit of perspective at the end of the day.
It's just a game, isn't it?
Yeah, you might move up the rankings a bit, but it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
There's so many more important things in life.
There is indeed, yeah.
I just started laughing about it now, and sometimes I find talking about it or going on Twitter on a quick moan, and then I look for other people who I know moan a lot, and then read about how bad their game week was, and I feel better.
So what you do is you go and look for someone who's had a worse week than you?
Basically, yeah. No, to be fair, I don't normally have to look far beyond my 3 amigos. So.
I'm done. You just wait, Maz.
No, man. It's our year next year, and the year after that, and the year after that.
Liverpool fans are used to that, aren't they?
You know what? I decided this season that I was. I kept going on Twitter and moaning about players I didn't buy and players I didn't have, and how the players that I sold, and I started getting annoyed with myself, right? So I'm like, if I was following you, I would be like really annoyed right now. So I just started to enjoy it.
Stop being such a moany hole, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. So you know what, everybody's different, and I know some guys that I follow, and we laugh about it. But yeah, like I just want to enjoy it and get players that I like, and just I get more annoyed when Liverpool lose. It takes me a while to get over that.
Yeah, I had a bad game week when Liverpool won, and when they bet City, and I couldn't care less. I just completely forgot about the game week, whereas last game week was a bit painful with Liverpool losing and having a bad or an average game week, shall we say. But thanks, dudes. Mohutsu at T3MK _ Mohutsu keeps us on our toes with the with that change of handle. Like, still can't get used to it. But the temptation to go with cheap defenders is growing with good fixtures for a few teams. But should we ignore? I'll give this one actually to you, Dale. Should we ignore that punty strategy and stick with the top 6 or 7 defences who are likely to get tighter?
I think you have your collection of premium defenders. Like I at the minute, I've got Davies and Alonso, and then you have your 3 punty selections. I think Burnley is still 7th, so they're probably in his top 6, 7 conversation. But like I mentioned, their defenders are pretty cheap, and they've got a great run in. If Javi Gracia can tighten Watford up, they've got a few options in the basement market. You've got Cabaselli and I forget the other guy. But yeah, I mean, Paul Lambert, he's renowned for playing a bit tight football, so Stoke might be an option. So yeah, I'm a fan of not tying up all your money in the top 6 or 7, especially when it comes to the defence. Because I mean, you've got European Cup, you've got FA Cup, the teams are going to rotate. So yeah, I'd definitely be looking at bargain basement. Yeah,
I think that's right. Yeah, 2 premium, and then 2 kind of fellas who'll rotate into the 3rd spot, and then if you want to have a bench fodder on the 5th spot. But it's it rarely gives you the kind of the premium defenders. If you have too many of them, it doesn't really give you value for money. Mars, next one up is FPL Jesus, and we'll keep this as nice short answer from you, Mars. Was asking, should I keep Masuaku, or are there better similarly priced alternatives?
Dummett is somebody that can be a little cheaper, and Newcastle have some good fixtures coming up. Apart from that, keep him because he's cheap. That was nice and short.
Oh, that was really short. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Mill. And give this one to you, Charlie. Was Paul Michael Jones at Paul MJ81 was asking, with so many problems being thrown up all at once for what now seems to be template players. So how are you looking to react? So he's basically bringing up the Pope having Heaton coming back, Kenny with Coleman coming back, and now Arnie and Lanzini injured. Son's poor fixtures, and Lingard under threat from Sanchez. So there are a lot of kind of players that people were getting aboard as a bit of a bandwagon. Don't know if some of them probably aren't template, but I know that they are kind of ones that there was game weeks where they were definitely one of the highest transferred in players. But how are you looking to react to that situation?
I wouldn't knee jerk. That's the most important thing for me. The template for a reason. The template because they're scoring really, really well. Let the other knee-jerk managers, rush to transfer out a player who then ends up playing. Throughout the whole podcast we said that Arnie's flagged as injured, but he still might play next week. We've said that tomorrow we'll watch Sanchez and see where he goes, because we're still at this stage not sure what position he's going to end up in. And chances are he's probably going to be moving around, and 1 week it's going to be Rashford, next week it's going to be Martial, next week it's going to be Lingard, and that's exactly the same situation as we're in now. So I think really just don't rush into your transfers. Don't react at this stage of the season. If you climb really, really high, there's no rush. So what if you lose 0.1 mil?
So be cool like Chorley and don't be impulsive like Dunn, basically, is what you're saying.
Always
Chorley.
cool. Always cool.
Be cool. I like it. Good stuff. FPLwildcards.com was asking, and we'll give this one to you, Dale. Sorry for giving you the stereotypical beer question, but he's asking what.
Well, I am the chairman of the FPL Beer Club on Twitter, so.
Shout out to our friends in the FPL Beer Club. Hashtag. What's the perfect beer and amount of it to have whilst playing one's wildcard?
Right. Well, just before I answer that question, I'll just mention to the listeners that the 3 amigos are going head to head on Yahoo's article this week. We're going to go and pit our wits against each other in the round table. So look out for that. Which wildcard writes?
I'm confident in my picks. That's all I have to say.
Mars, are you going to beat us all?
It's my year.
It's your year.
So,
Anyway, back to the beer question.
I might send Paddy Power a tweet to ask who's got the best odds of winning.
Probably Mars.
I think personally, I'd fancy Dale's chances really, because I think he's been putting a lot of work in. He's had the week off this week. Mars has been busy off gallivanting around the world. I've been busy at work, and Dale has been putting the research in. So my money would be on Dale.
Interesting how you're talking the other guys up. I reckon you got something up your sleeve.
Anyway, back to the beer. So my favourite beer at the minute is a Thornbridge Tart Bakewell Sour. It's really nice and really citrusy, quite sour. And I would drink as many of them as I could until I couldn't seem to scream no more and forgot that I wildcarded, pretty much.
Forget to hit the button. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I'm the king of the drunk wildcard. If anyone's followed me in the last, for the longer than 12 months, they'll remember last season I drunk wildcarded my way to 90 odd points. So I'm in favour of drunk wildcarding.
Yeah, I've done a few late night transfers when I've had a few drinks on. It don't tend to work out as well.
What about being drunk and playing somebody else's wildcard? I've made that mistake.
Oh, that'd be awesome. You could just ruin the team.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it wasn't intentional.
I could do that for that's actually something I could do against my 11-year-old son is still beating me in FPL this season, and that's what I could do with him the next time, because he often logs in on my computer, leaves in his team, so I could say it was an honest mistake, but sabotage his season. Don't know what sort of a dad that'd make me, but
you teach him a valuable life lesson.
Yeah, I told you not to log in on my computer.
Yeah, never leave your FPL login in anyone else's control. That's a valuable life lesson.
Come here, lads. We're almost at the end of the show, so we're going to do our captain picks. We used to call them our Bolden or Barlow captain picks, but I don't know what we'll call them this week. What we call them, Charlie? Have you got any names off the top of your head that we can call risky and the safe captain pick?
Brilliant and Bobbins.
Okay, so your Bobbins captain pick would be a risky one. So we'll come to you first, sure.
I think a brilliant pick would be Salah. Liverpool against Huddersfield away. He's set and forget, isn't he? If you want to go non-template, maybe Mahrez, because Everton, a bit leaky, and Big Sam in his post-match today interview last week said that he was really disappointed at how the defence played, and he wants to go back to concentrating on defence. Now, Everton defence against Leicester defence, that's going to be, it's going to have all the players down one end of the pitch or the other end of the pitch and a big space in the middle. I think that big space in the middle will leave room for goals. So, Mahrez against Everton could be a bit of a risky one.
Mahrez, how about yourself? Give me in Shorty's honour, your brilliant and your Bobbins.
His name is Sergio. He's Argentinian. He's going to get me more hat-tricks this weekend. Well, not this weekend, on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever he's playing.
I'm not even surprised.
I thought you might have even gone for a fall song, with the sad passing away of Mark. I thought maybe you would have gone for a fall song lyrics today.
Sergio is my brilliant. And I'm going to go Shaqiri for my Bobbins, because his stats don't lie, just like his hips don't lie.
Don't try to sing that one, Mars. Dale, give me your brilliant and your Bobbins.
For brilliant, I've got to agree with Mars. It's Sergio. I've got him. I'm going to be captaining him. It's, let's hope we get another hat-trick. My Bobbins, I'll go with Ozil. I think Arsenal might be a bit reinvigorated. Charlie pointed on earlier about the amount of shots Swansea conceded, so Ozil to run the show and Arsenal to get the win. Yeah,
I think I was going to actually mention Arsenal. I was even thinking Mkhitaryan possibly, but I'll go for my brilliant one. I'll go with Sergio. But for my Bobbins pick is the original Bobbins from Dale on his first visit on the pod, on the Fan Feud pod. Months back was he meant for Bobby Firmino as his, or he mentioned him as being Bobbins. So I'll go for Bobby. I captained him last week, and but I think this week could be the week for him against Huddersfield. Why not?
Wait,
it's a risky one.
Do you have Sergio on your team?
I do.
Oh God.
Is you dizzy, blood?
Oh,
Is he-
yes. We mentioned actually. We know we were talking about the Marple curse was that was the other transfer I did this week.
Oh,
Was
no.
Sergio in for Harry Kane, lads?
Oh no!
Oh no.
Oh,
Right, I'm captaining Kane.
Yeah.
that's my full
lads.
game week ruined.
Yeah. And the show was going so well up to that point, huh? Come here, lads. We'll wrap it up on that note. Thanks, Mill. Charlie, thanks, Mill, for being our first Three Amigos podcast.
You're very
guest.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome, and we'll love to have you back on again. We always enjoy having the chat with you. But make sure you're following at 3 Amigos FPL on Twitter, and follow Mars at Mars05. Follow Chef Dale H. That's Chef, and follow Shirley, of course, at FanFootFirst on Twitter. If you're so inclined, you can follow myself at FPL Marple. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we really do appreciate it when you share the pod. We're only starting off now from scratch again in terms of our subscribers, so make sure to subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on SoundCloud, and share and like the pod among your friends and the FPL community. Thanks a mil for listening, and best of luck to you in game week 25. Booyah!
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are we. Brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo.